Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, founder of GSD, Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GSD that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And today on Top Global Startups, I have an incredible guest. Join me in welcoming Dr. Travis Meyer, who's the CEO and co-founder of Mineral City AI. He's a physician entrepreneur dedicated to redefining authentication, quality control, and supply chain security through advanced AI-driven solutions. With an impressive medical career in interventional radiology, coupled with a successful track record in healthcare innovation, Travis embodies leadership that is both innovative and deeply compassionate. Today, we'll dive into his journey, the fascinating world of Mineral City AI, and how AI can revolutionize authentication processes. Welcome, Travis. And I'd like to bring Travis on board. Hi, Travis.
Hello. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about it. So, when you were going to medical school, what made you decide to get into innovation? Because, you think of radiology, right? But what made you to say, I want to make a dent and I want to make a difference?
Yeah, I think I've always been one of those, particularly as a kid, that just wanted to dive in, tear things apart, and learn how and why. My undergrad was in engineering. And then throughout medical school, was just always very drawn to taking that sort of physical hands-on approach, which is probably part of why I do interventional radiology, which is very procedural based and in an operating suite or an angio suite.
And what does that mean? Tell us what interventional radiology is. What is it exactly?
Yeah, so it's a radiologist who specifically has done fellowship training or focuses in doing procedures that are minimally invasive. And the radiology component comes in because we use X-rays, CT, ultrasound in real time to guide our instruments and perform the procedures. And we can do most of it through very small incisions or no real incision at all and just placing essentially a large IV into a vessel.
So I just got a question for you, very interesting for me. So I've been in AI for 29 years, and I've been in the whole generative AI movement since 2016. I actually started one of the first companies. And one of the things, these tools give you superpowers, Travis. And, August of last year, my dog had stage 4 cancer. And I actually went down through and using a multi-agent large language model, came up with a vaccine for cancer, right? And at a molecular level. Now, I'm not a smart guy like you. I'm just a poor country boy who grew up on a farm. But now if I can do that, and we built it. We had it built by a lab down in Kentucky. Now, imagine what the possibilities are. Have we not truly tapped in medicine, right? It seems like we're just on the surface of things. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, I think medicine still has a long way to go in AI. There are several different areas in which it's being implemented. Obviously, the easiest one is to do some of the basic things like scribing and, some of the sort of more managerial and administrative tasks in medicine. That's also probably a lower threshold and risk. And then,
Wait, let's focus on that because that's a big problem, right? The doctors don't want to take risks because they don't want to get sued. Yeah, a lot of times.
Yep.
Is it not the insurance companies too that go down through? I heard this from the former CEO of a very large insurance company, and he told me this directly. He said that a lot of times we want people to get better, but we don't want them to be cured. I heard that directly, right? Mm-hmm. And I heard it in it, and if I didn't hear it, I wouldn't have understood because that's a subscription model, right? And is it, I had, so last year I did that with my dog, and then October I got stage 3 kidney disease. And I actually went down through and had 100,000 mesenchymal stem cells from an umbilical cord put in me, and I got rid of the entire stage 3 kidney disease. And besides that, my sciatica disappeared. I had it done in Thailand by Harvard, Yale, Princeton, MIT trained doctors and geneticists. But they put this in me, and I was profoundly I couldn't believe that these stem cells from an umbilical cord, so it was 3 hours after the woman delivered and given to me, my back didn't hurt anymore. The ibuprofen I had taken had given me the stage 3 kidney disease. It's gone now. I got stronger. I had it done twice, actually. Since October, I actually went back for a second one. And so aren't these frontier medicines out there in our journey to live 150? Some of what you're doing is going to help us, because ultimately that's what it does, right? It helps us live longer.
I think it's part of medicine is living longer. It's also living healthier. And so longer isn't always better if you can't get out and do the things you enjoy. As far as the insurance company component, I don't really play on that side of the fence for a good reason.
I heard that from somebody, right? Now, everybody's got their opinion, and it may or may not be the right opinion, right? But everybody's got an opinion, and I don't know. But I know one thing, that there are technologies out there that help us live longer, and then you got things like the FDA that take a long time to go through the system.
Right. And so from a doctor's side of that, I think that, I don't myself know, and I really cannot name anybody I know that as a physician subscribes to that. Let's keep them good, but not great. Yeah. I'm not worried about running out of patients. There are enough people on this planet and enough things that we do to our own bodies. I'm not worried about running out of business. I'd love to not see a lot of them again, because we've taken care of their issues.
Yeah. You're
not
right.
a management. As far as you were saying, though, about things coming out, a lot of it is the risk benefit. And I think the litigious society and the way that the medical legal system is set up makes us very conscientious and very slow to adopt really innovative technologies.
Yeah, no, that's another point of the thing too, right? Like technologies, we're not adapting those technologies that can affect our lives because there's so many. I don't know. Maybe we over litigate. I don't know. It's like crazy, right? Because I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I know you you got to be thinking about everything you do. You don't want to have a problem with it, right?
Yep. Yeah, and you can do an awful lot of good, but you only have to mess up once.
Yeah, exactly. So, and a lot of places, I know I was treated over in Russia one time. I was in a hospital in Russia, and the stuff that they did would have taken me 6 months to get done here, but they did it right on the spot. It was unbelievable, right? And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's just different approach. So
yeah.
Anyhow, so you've got a background that combines bioengineering, medicine, and entrepreneurship. What inspired you to go to this unique intersection?
Yeah, for me, it's just another way to make positive change in the world. And so, I can touch so many patients. If we want to ramp that up to a larger component, then you've kind of got to step back and go one step higher. And there's lots of ways to do that. I did spend some time in a university setting. Teaching is one great way to do that. Research is another great way to do that. Both of my parents are veterinarians and ran their own veterinary practice for decades. And so I grew up in that small business kind of a mentality. And so that very much, I think, drove my desire to take a entrepreneurship route. And I've dabbled in a lot of other spaces too, but entrepreneurship is where it keeps bringing me back to. So I kind of view it almost too as my creative outlet.
Why didn't you become a veterinarian if your parents were both vets? This is like, it would be simple. Stay in the family business, right?
Had to go pave my own way.
I see.
Do things the hard way.
So can you share a pivotal moment in your medical career that sparked your interest in technology and innovation?
Yeah. I think for me, particularly in interventional radiology, a lot of what we do is because other things haven't worked and there isn't necessarily a super clear-cut way in how to do it. So it's a very much on the edge. And so I think for me, through my training, seeing my attendings ahead of me, my mentors and my teachers, make stuff up on the spot almost. Obviously they had the fundamentals, they had the skills, they knew what they were doing, they knew the tools, but it was only through knowing all of that, much like an artist might go break the rules, or a chef or anybody else, right? And they were doing that often. And that sort of creativity with a purpose really spoke to me. And then bringing back in the tinker mind was a great way to sort of keep that engaged. And you'll hear a little bit more as we dive into the origin story, how we made a pivot in order to be able to accomplish that in a reasonable time frame and to a larger extent.
You describe yourself as a servant leader. What does that mean?
Yeah. I think you can either go head first and say, I want to be the leader, make me the whatever, or you can use the talents you have and don't shy away from them, but you can do what you're good at. And it may come to pass that somebody will say, can you please be the person that spearheads this? Can you be the person that shepherds this forward? An example, I didn't start this company as CEO. I started as CTO, and one of our other co-founders was kind of taking that point person position. As we've morphed and as we've changed, all of us were able to let go of egos enough to say, who's best in this role at this moment? And for now, it's me. But I don't need to hold on to a title. And I think that's a lot of servant leadership is, it's amazing what you do if you don't care who takes credit for it. And if you're really all in it for the right reasons, and you're much more excited about the end goal and the product and the accomplishment, then if it's your turn to lead, do it. Don't shy away from it. But if someone else is better at the job, let them do it. And in medicine, we run into that. A lot of people say doctors don't make good business people. I staunchly disagree. If it's kidney disease, it's not my world. I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I'm the one to treat you. I'm going to hand you off to a colleague that's their expertise. So when it comes to a part of this company, I need the experts. And, I'm not the expert of everything. And I think that's really what servant leadership comes down to, is how can I enable those people who are experts to really excel and do their best and make mistakes and get out there and take us forward collectively as a group, and trust that everyone's in the right place with their heart. And sometimes you get burned, but I think you just have to put that trust out there over and over and over again.
That's great. And how do you really divide your time up between radiology and running the company? Because it takes a lot of time to be a doctor, right?
Yes. I don't sleep much. It is basically 2 full-time jobs. Call is an extra burden on there as well. And then somehow managing relationships and home and everything else. So it's a 24/7 kind of a gig, for sure. But it also charges me up, so I do get a lot from work, from radiology. There are also days I need a break from it. Entrepreneurship in this company gives me a different charge. There are some moments I need a break from it too. And so for me, I'm lucky that I'm able to go back and forth. If both of them were draining and neither of them sort of stepped in when the other stepped out, I probably couldn't do as much. But I have found a combination of passions which happen to all fit together like puzzle pieces well. And my life pretty much centers around 3 things: radiology, this company, and home and family. So yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. And, it's a lot of work being a doctor, a lot of responsibilities, but also a lot of responsibilities running a company, right?
Yeah.
You got a lot of different kind of responsibilities. Can you
Yes.
briefly describe Mineral City AI and its core mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mineral City AI started as a healthcare tech company, med device company. We have taken that technology and expanded its uses, and it's where we think it's most valuable. And really our goal is to secure the supply chain. And so using X-ray technology, whether that's through sort of what people think as a normal X-ray or as a CT, but using X-ray technology to help verify and authenticate products without line of sight. So doing that still in bulk. And that means that we can scan and inspect more products, which decreases the risk for gray market and counterfeit, which really does have a health impact. And so we're starting in the medical space, the medical device and the medical kit space, as well as pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, and beverages and other food products, for which I don't think people fully understand the degree of counterfeit that is out there and the impact that can have.
How big of a degree? Talk about it, because it's like, we want to learn more, right? So how big of a problem is it today?
I don't know exactly where the stat came from, but it has been stuck in my head quite a while. Counterfeiting is the 8th largest economy in the world by GDP.
And so what about, is that in the US? Are there counterfeits here too?
Absolutely.
Like, give us an example. What kind of things? You don't have to name the exact product, but what kind of things?
It's very common for supplements and nutraceuticals to be counterfeit, particularly because there's very little post-market testing, and there's not quite the same databases of people having reactions and stuff as there are the highly monitored medications. That being said, pharmaceuticals are also very highly counterfeit because the profit margin to a counterfeiter is very, very great.
Really? So even the medicine even medicine doctors prescribe could be counterfeit?
It can be, absolutely.
Really?
Or tampered with.
That's unbelievable. How in the world does it get in the supply chain? Obviously, but what percent of the drugs out there do you think are counterfeit? What's the estimate?
I don't have a good percentage off the top of my head there. But I mean, it goes beyond that. It goes into car parts.
I know. It's car parts, right?
Yep. Particularly, you're in a wreck and you need to replace airbags or some other portion of the car. A lot of those parts are counterfeit, and they're basically double selling. Very big in the food and wine industry, as well as like olive oils and other stuff. That was
that's unbelievable. So olive oil. So I don't know the difference. Somebody says it's extra virgin, it's from Italy. I don't know what the difference is, to be honest. I mean, I can taste some of it, but I mean, if it's counterfeits, you may be paying for something that's not real.
Yeah. And part of that is, at least here in the United States, we don't necessarily have the price tolerance for truly the good stuff, but we want the good stuff. And so it creates a very high, and it may not be 100% counterfeit, but it may be diluted. Interestingly, one of the posts that I had was that we can actually tell the difference between olive oil and vegetable oil based on radiography.
Really? That's unbelievable.
Yep. The way that the fat molecules pack together creates a difference in density, which is really what X-ray and CT detect, in a way that is noticeable to about 3 standard deviations. So that means we can be about 99.99% sure that is not pure olive oil. Now, there is variation within that, the season, the farm, the pressing, but, and the same for true maple syrup versus the corn syrup version. Those sugars are different. The water content is different. And
that's amazing. Well, that's great to know. So I didn't know there were so many counterfeit products, although you do hear about it, in stores, getting a load of counterfeit goods in. You hear about it with car parts a lot because they're parts from places like China. They're coming in and they're mislabeled. And you're paying, you think they're original. How can you tell the difference? I mean, like everything. Like I see like watches on on the internet, and I don't know I wouldn't even, at a high quality watch counterfeit. I don't know. You got to be like an expert to tell the difference.
And that's part of the beauty of this. So sort of skipping ahead a little bit, often Customs and Border Patrol will have a book or some reference material from the company. And they'll say, okay, I'm supposed to inspect a certain number of samplings out of this shipment. And so they'll look at the watch or the shoe or the bag or whatever it is, and they'll flip through the book and they'll say, okay, it's supposed to have this feature and that feature, and they'll match it up. If the good guys have the answers, the bad guys have the answer key too. So they know what part of that they have to get spot on. And they know what part of that they can let not be quite as good of a fake component.
Wow.
In AI, the beauty is over time, I don't know exactly what it's honing in on. So an example I'll use is we scanned a bunch of bottles of cologne and perfume, and then I purposely doctored some. And I thought that it would look for changes in density between the cologne and the water. What it actually ended up honing in on was the meniscus of how the fluid layers up on the side of the container.
Really? That's amazing.
So I don't have to know in advance what's necessarily so different about it.
Mm-hmm.
The AI having a great training sample or a great training database and, a good starting place, right? Some intuition to it, we'll be able to hone in on differences that we may not initially pick up or have guessed. And so at that point, I don't know every feature of the product that it is analyzing to what degree and how much weight it's putting on different components in order to give me the confidence interval that it is the real thing. And that throws a wrench in the counterfeit.
Well, that's amazing.
Cycle.
And how much of the cologne is counterfeit? How do we know any percentages or any of this stuff? Is there because you see it like at these flea markets, right? You know this stuff's not real.
There was just a analysis out that is fresh in my head that 1 in 10 cigarettes in the UK, or I'm sorry, EU, is counterfeit, and that it came up to something like 3.8 billion in last year alone.
How can that be, though? How can they get into the system? And how can you, more importantly, how does this, your proprietary AI system work to ensure seamless verification without disrupting the workflows?
Yeah, so the beauty is it's one of the only or few technologies out there that can do non-line of sight. So much like and to give an easy example we can all relate to, much like your carry-on going in the airport through the X-ray scanner, and it has the different colors, and the TSA agent is there flipping through the different versions of the picture. We don't need an agent sitting there doing it. Our agent is AI. And so we can look at that and, again, train over time to figure out what the unique components of it are. And then as we move that through, it'll go ahead and flag. And if there's 12 bottles in the case and it's supposed to be a certain fill level and it's supposed to be a certain density and the glass is supposed to be so thick and it's supposed to have a certain meniscus, as it goes through, it can pick up on these anomalies. And now you can get a better idea of what cases do I need to open and which don't I. And so you can really save a lot of time, and it won't replace every human's double and triple checking, but it can zero us in on what needs to be inspected. And that conveyor belt can run at a pretty good clip. And so it really doesn't slow down the normal processes the way that opening every shipper pack, taking it out, scanning it, or looking for the hologram or looking for the UV or IR, whatever else it may be. You don't have to look at every single product. You can do this in bulk. And if we scale that up mentally and we say, can we do a whole pallet?
Well, the verification level is a lot different, right?
Yep.
And that's where some of our additional. How does it, Travis? You go into you got a case of cologne. How in the world would you know which one? Maybe some are fake and some are real. How would you? What do you do? Smell them? I mean, I don't know. How can you tell? Like, seriously?
Yeah. So we end up combining that with some of our proprietary markers. And so instead of saying, I'm going to send bottles through and I want the AI to have no starting point, I just want it to tell me what that is over and over. It would take a lot of training and it would have a reasonable amount of error rate. So we put a marker on the container, which is also X-ray visible. And that marker says, this is supposed to be so-and-so's bottle of this. So it should have these different characteristics on the X-ray. Now it knows what it's looking for in that case of 12 or 24 or that pallet. And if something in there doesn't match that criteria, now I know that these are the ones that we should be looking after. So it's a combination of training over time, and it's a combination of giving it a head start and telling it what it is looking for. that really speeds up the whole process. And then we
Wow,
know, okay, this
that's
ought to be.
that's really interesting.
Yep.
So, what makes your technology uniquely positioned compared to traditional authentication methods? How different are you? What are you different in, or is there anything like this out in the market today?
Yeah. There's not a lot of non-line of sight. RFID is one of the few other technologies out there, particularly in the medical space. A lot of implants are metal. And so when you start getting a lot of metal around RFID, or you get a lot of them together in a very close space, they don't always communicate correctly. They're also inactive. So we're a completely passive technology. You can't walk by with a scanner in your backpack and start scanning everybody's codes out there. That combined with our unique markers, which we only know the code to, right? And that can be changed over time. And so that's a level of security and layer there as well. If you don't know what the marker is, then you don't know what to pair with it. And so that's one of our big components as well. And then again, what are we looking for? And how are we doing it? There are not a lot of other technologies that are non-line of sight, that are bulk, that don't require the product being opened up and physically touched or manipulated. There are some, photo scanning, right? Taking images of things and or looking at the surface characteristics and microtexture features. A very big area of the counterfeit world out there is tag-ins, which is some kind of an embedded something, usually a very small particle, and you're looking for that signature, whether that's a UV light signature or an IR light or visible light, right? There's lots and lots of, and you can even get outside of that range. A lot of people get really nervous, for lack of a better phrase, when we talk about X-rays. I mean, there's how many of them sitting there in the area at the airport, and they've all been certified to the nth degree to not leak and this and that and the other. So we're not really out there, irradiating the whole public.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's going to become radioactive. And the other thing is, to me, it's the next step up. So you have radio waves, right? Really low frequency waves. And then you've got IR, visible light, UV. And if you keep walking up the spectrum, the next is X-ray. And the higher the frequency you get, much like your Wi-Fi, the more data you can have. So the data that we're able to incorporate and the granularity of our markers and our detection system has the potential to, whether at this very moment it is living up to every bit of its potential, but it has the potential to contain and to scan quite a lot of information. And that's inherent in where we're working at in the spectrum.
Got it. So we're coming up to the top of the show. I have some quick fire. This is a quick fire round.
Go
so
for
if
it.
you weren't a doctor or entrepreneur, what would you be? Probably
a chef. That's
and
up there.
What's one book that significantly influenced your thinking?
Ben Zander's Art of Possibility was an early one and a rather influential one.
What's your favorite productivity hack?
I've really started turning to some AI agents for everyday stuff. But you've got to use them right, and you've got to give them a head start. So it's not all the same.
What technology or app can't you live without?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm pretty addicted to my phone.
Describe your leadership style in 3 words.
In 3 words. All right. Well, we talked about servant, so I'll stop there at 1 word. You've got to love what you do. You've got to have a passion. You can't just drop a leader into random things, and you can, and they'll do okay, but there's a difference. So passion, and by example, get dirty, do the dirty jobs first, and people will respect that and come along if you're willing to do anything that needs to get done.
Okay, excellent. And what's the best advice you've ever received?
It's up there. I don't know if it's the exact top, but Robert Schiller who wrote a book, Irrational Exuberance, I think in the late 90s or very early 2000s, later went on to win the Nobel Prize in Economics. He was at a small gathering that I was at back in college. And he said, take the thing you love absolutely the most, call it number one. Take the thing you love a lot, call it number two. Make number two your job and number one your hobby, or you'll never have any hobbies.
Oh, there you go. I love that.
So I've gotten to the point where I guess I'm focusing more on my hobbies than my job, or I'm focusing on both radiology and entrepreneurship. So there you go.
Well, I mean, happiness is the most important thing. When it's all said and done, are you happy, right?
Yep.
And so, Travis, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And
Thank
thanks
you.
to all my audience for joining one more time. GSD presents Top Global Startups. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. I'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Travis.
Thank you.